How does the Toyota Camry hold up after a few years on the road and tens of thousands of miles? In this video, we'll discuss what it's like to own a Camry and drive it every day. We'll take a look at the advantages and disadvantages, as well as any problems that have occurred in the past 125,000 miles. This is not your typical showroom condition car video. If you enjoy automotive content and find this video helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The Camry came with a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, making 203 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, which is combined with an 8-speed transmission. For those seeking more power, a 3.5-liter V6 engine delivers 301 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque, also paired with an 8-speed transmission. Additionally, the Camry features a hybrid powertrain that combines a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with an electric motor, producing a total system output of 208 horsepower and using a CVT transmission. There's plenty of power for normal driving with this standard engine. You're not going to win any races, but the transmission is quick to kick down if you need extra power, and the car comfortably keeps up with stop-and-go traffic. This 4-cylinder version will do 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds, which isn't fast, but it's more than adequate. The car is quick, nimble, and fun to drive if you really want to get on it. There have been no strange noises or problems with this powertrain at all. The engine starts perfectly every single time. There are no squeaks, creaks, or rattles coming from the engine. The transmission is just as smooth as it was the day it rolled off the showroom floor. Oftentimes, a car with over 100,000 miles has clearly seen better days, with rougher shifts and multiple indiscernible noises coming from under the car. But you'd honestly have a hard time telling that this car has as many miles as it does. The interior of this Camry is very comfortable. The front seats are nice and supportive, with plenty of adjustments to stay comfortable on longer trips. The seat bottom lifts up more than enough to provide a good amount of thigh support, but it does feel a little short. The seats have held up extremely well, with no rips, tears, and the foam is still soft and supportive, with no depressions. Sure, the interior materials aren't the nicest quality, with plenty of black plastic panels and trim, but you can get leather and nicer appointments on the higher trim levels. The driver's door panel does tend to rattle when the road isn't really smooth, which can be annoying, but considering there are no other noises, it's not a big deal. It's a little bit of a challenge to get in and out of the car due to the low step-in height and the very wide panel at the bottom of the door, but that's just part of having a sedan. All electronics and interior buttons work perfectly with no issues at all. The windows go up and down smoothly and quickly, the power seats have never had a hiccup, and everything else is basically flawless. With some cars, you can really tell when it has a lot of miles because the interior shows it, but this interior has held up remarkably well. The Camry is very nimble for a full-size car, and it handles much better than a RAV or other small SUV thanks to the low center of gravity. This is another reason why someone would choose a sedan over an SUV. It's extremely easy to park in tight spaces and drive at low speeds, and handling on the highway is easy and confident. Oftentimes, when a car hits 90 or 100,000 miles, you can really feel it in the suspension as it begins to feel sloppy. The suspension in this Camry feels the exact same way it did when the car was brand new. The shocks work perfectly, the car stays flat in corners, and there are no clunks or squeaks coming from the suspension. It tracks perfectly straight on the highway, and it's completely controlled when you go over large bumps. Since 2018, all Camrys have come with Toyota Safety Sense, which includes basically every safety feature available, including a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, lane departure alert, automatic high beams, and full-speed range dynamic radar cruise control. The Camry also offers a blind spot monitor with rear cross traffic alert, making lane changes and backing out of parking spots safer. Additionally, the optional 360-degree camera system provides a bird's-eye view of the surroundings, which helps you park nice and straight every time, but it's really not necessary with a car this size. One thing to appreciate about this car is that the safety features work reliably, unlike many other vehicles out there. For example, the adaptive cruise control is reliable and predictable, and it doesn't get confused if a car passes you in the left lane and then comes back into your lane in front of you at a higher speed after they've gone around. Ride quality is another spot where a sedan like this outshines an SUV like the RAV. Even though the RAV is taller, the wheelbase is about 6 inches shorter, which translates into a busier, rougher ride. This car does a nice job soaking up bumps while still being really easy to handle. The Camry is very quiet when it comes to road noise, even at higher speeds, there's little noise that comes into the cabin compared to other cars in its class, so even days spent on the road are minimally tiring. The engine is a little raspy when accelerating, but it's otherwise very quiet, and when you're just cruising along, you can't even hear it. Consumer Reports rates the reliability for the Camry at better than average for most years. As you can see, the engine, transmission, and other major systems are extremely reliable, with very few issues reported. Most cars at least have some major trouble spots, but this car is incredibly long-lasting. In-car electronics sometimes have issues, but these are usually technical glitches that are more annoying than anything. These types of issues are very common among all new cars. Both the 2.5-liter four-cylinder and the 3.5-liter V6 have been produced for many years and are known to be some of the longest-lasting engines in the world, requiring minimal maintenance and able to handle neglect such as infrequent oil changes. The EPA says this car gets about 28 miles per gallon in the city and 39 miles per gallon on the highway. For me, even with a very heavy foot, I usually get in the low to mid-30s when driving around town and on the highway, which includes a good amount of stop-and-go traffic and waiting at lights. With a 15.8-gallon fuel tank, I don't have to fill up very often, and it doesn't cost much when I do. To compare, the non-hybrid RAV4 is rated for 27 miles per gallon city and 35 miles per gallon highway. I'm a big believer in keeping up with the maintenance, which, contrary to what some people think, isn't just limited to engine oil and tires. There are quite a few other fluids that need to be changed occasionally, albeit not as frequently as the engine oil. The transmission and all other fluids need to be changed periodically. Just like the engine oil, these fluids become old, contaminated, and lose their ability to function flawlessly. Fluid changes can cost a few $100s or more, but if you're only doing them every couple of years, it's really not a big deal if that's all the car needs. The Toyota Camry is known for holding its value really well, making it a great buy if you're thinking about resale down the road. It's reliable, durable, and doesn't cost a lot to maintain, which all helps keeps its resale value high. People trust Toyota to make cars that last, and the Camry is no exception. It consistently gets high marks for safety and customer satisfaction, too. Plus, with so many service centers and parts readily available, it's easy to keep a Camry running smoothly, which makes it a popular choice in the used car market. Buying a used Camry is still relatively inexpensive, considering the quality of car you get. A base model has a new sticker price of about $27,000, and there are plenty of lightly used options out there for around $20,000. I wouldn't be worried at buying one with some miles on it, as long as the engine oil has been changed frequently, and then you can have the rest of the fluids changed if they haven't been done recently. After that, the car will basically run forever. There are plenty of cheaper used cars out there, but there's a reason they're cheap. People don't want to pay much for low-quality cars that are going to need major repairs and be a hassle to own after they cross 60,000 miles. For 2025, Toyota discontinued the regular 4-cylinder gas powertrain and made the Camry a hybrid. While Toyota does make extremely solid hybrids, they just give you a different driving experience, where the engine turns on and off repeatedly. They're smooth for sure, but it can still be annoying if you pay attention to that type of stuff. Not to mention the fact that the batteries do need to be replaced eventually, and they can be pretty pricey. Despite the added complexity of the hybrid system, they're still very long-lasting. Just take a look at the Prius, which Toyota has been making for over 20 years. The Camry is just an all-around great car. It's not the most luxurious or the fastest, and it doesn't have the best interior, but it does exactly what it was intended to do. Even this one, with well over 100,000 miles, still drives the same way it did when it was brand new. You'd honestly have a tough time telling it apart from a new one. These cars are built to last and aren't ready for the junkyard when the odometer hits 100,000 miles. It's comfortable for everyday driving and holds up extremely well over time, working flawlessly day in and day out without needing to go into the shop for various issues. It handles and drives well and gets great gas mileage. Even though most people opt for the RAV4, which is basically the taller version of this is great for those who want a sedan.